Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Roy. I'm the president of the Parliamentary Society. I welcome you for today's lecture. I want to introduce to you the honored guest on my extreme right, Ambassador Barish from Costa Rica, Mr. Robert Mueller, Assistant Secretary General for commemoration of the 40th anniversary of the United Nations, and of course you all know our honored guest. Today we are also celebrating the 22nd anniversary of the Parliamentaris encyclical letter, which was issued by Pope John XXIII on the 11th of April 1963. So we have a double occasion to celebrate, not only of the Parliamentaris encyclical, but also we have with us our honored guest, the world teacher. You all know Mr. Krishnamurti, and I don't need any introduction for him. It is with great pleasure I present to you Mr. Krishnamurti.
I'm supposed to talk on world peace beyond the 40th anniversary of the United Nations. Mankind, man, has lived on this earth over 50,000 years, and perhaps much longer or for a less duration. During all this long evolution, man has not found peace on earth. Pacem terris has been preached long before Christianity by the ancient Hindus and the Buddhists. And during all this time, man has lived in conflict. Not only conflict with his neighbor, but with people of his own community, of his own society, with his own family. He has fought, struggled against man. For the last 5,000 years, and perhaps more historically, there have been wars, practically every year. And we are still at war. I believe there are 40 wars going on at the present time. And the religious hierarchy, not only the Catholics but the others, groups, have talked about pacem terris, peace on earth, goodwill among men. They never come about to have peace on earth. And they've talked about peace in, when you die, you go to heaven and you have peace there. One wonders if one is at all serious why man kills another human being in the name of God, in the name of peace, in the name of some ideology, or for his country, whatever that may mean, or for the king and the queen and all the rest of that business. Probably we all know this, that man has never lived on this earth, which is being slowly destroyed, why the man cannot live at peace with another human being. Why there are separate nations, which is after all a glorified tribalism, and religions, whether it be Christianity, Hinduism, or Buddhism, they're also at war with each other. Nations are at war, groups are at war, ideologies, whether it is the Russian or the American or any other category of ideologies, they're all at war with each other, conflict. And after living on this earth for so many centuries, why is it man cannot live peacefully on this marvelous earth? This question has been asked over and over again. An organization like this has been formed around that. What is the future of this particular organization? After the 40th year, beyond what lies? Time is a strange factor in life. Time is very important for all of us. And the future is what is present. Future is now. Because the present, which is also the past, modifying itself now, becomes the future. This has been the cycle of time, the path of time. And now, not beyond 40, after 40th year of this organization, but now, at the present time, if there is no radical change, fundamental mutation, the future is what is now. And that's been historically proved, and we can prove it in our daily lives, or with man and woman are in perpetual conflict. There will be no peace on this earth. One may talk about it endlessly. The Roman Catholic hierarchy talks about pacem in terris. And they have been also responsible for appalling wars in the past. 100 years of war, torture, all kinds of horrible things they have done to man. These are all facts, actualities, not the speaker's wish. And religions, including Islam, Hindus, Buddhists, and so on, they've had their own kind of war. And the future, beyond the 40th anniversary, is what is going on now. One wonders if one realizes that the present is not only the past, but also contains the future. Modifying the past, modifying itself constantly through the present and projecting the future. If we don't stop quarrels, struggles, antagonism, hate, now it'll be like that tomorrow. And you can stretch out that tomorrows for 1,000 years. It'll be still tomorrow. So it behoves us to ask ourselves whether we as human beings, single or a community, or in a family, whether we can live peacefully with each other. Organizations have not solved this problem. You can reorganize, but war still goes on. So organizations, whether it's world organization or a particular kind of organization to bring about peace, such organizations will never succeed, because human beings, individually, collectively, nationally, are in conflict. Strong nations like America or Russia are at war with each other, economically, ideologically, and actually. Not bloodshed yet. So, peace cannot possibly exist on this earth if there are nationalities, which, as we've said, is a glorified tribalism. Nationalities give certain security. Man needs security. And he invests in nationalism or in a particular ideology or belief. Beliefs, ideologies, and so on have separated man. And organizations cannot possibly bring about peace between man and man, because he believes in something. He believes in certain ideologies. He believes in God, and others don't. I wonder if one ever considered religions based on a book, like the Quran or the Bible. Become very bigoted, narrow, and fundamentalist. And religions like the Hindu and the Buddhist, they have many, many books, all considered sacred, real, straight from God's mouth. So, they're not so bigoted. They tolerate, they absorb. So there's this conflict going on. Those who rely or put their faith in books, and those who do not put their faith in any book. So the conflict between the book and those who accept multiple books. I wonder if one is aware of all this. And we're asking deeply, if you are serious at all, whether you and I and those of us who are involved in organizations can live at peace with each other. Peace requires a great deal of intelligence, not just demonstrations against a particular form of war, against the nuclear or whatever, the atom bomb and so on. Those are the products of minds, brains that have entrenched in nationalism, in some particular form of belief, ideology. So they are supplying armaments, the powerful ones, whether it be Russia, America, or England, or France, armaments to the rest of the world. And they also talk about peace, supplying at the same time armaments. It's a vast, cynical world. And cynicism can never tolerate affection, care, love. I think we have lost that quality. The quality of compassion. Not analyze what is compassion. It can be analyzed very easily. You cannot analyze love. Love is not within the limits of the brain, because the brain is the instrument of sensation, is the center of all reaction and action. And we try to find peace, love within this limited area. Which means thought is not love. Because thought is based on experience, which is limited, and on knowledge, which is always limited, whether now or in the future. So knowledge is always limited. And having knowledge, which is contained in the brain as memory, from that memory springs thought. This can be observed very simply and easily. If one examines oneself, if one looks at one's own activity of thought, experience, knowledge, you don't have to read any book or become a specialist to understand your own way of thinking, living. So thought is always limited, whether it's now or in the future. And we try to solve all our problems, both technological, religious, and personal, through the activity of thought. Surely thought is not love. Love is not sensation or pleasure. It is not the result of desire. It's something entirely different. To come upon that love, which is compassion, which is its own intelligence. One has to understand oneself, what we are, not through analysis, but understanding our own sorrows, our own pleasures, our own beliefs. You want to know, wherever you go, all over the world, mankind, human beings, suffer for various reasons. It might be petty or some very, very deep incident that has caused pain, sorrow. And every human being on this earth goes through that, on a minor scale or on a tremendous incident as death. And sorrow is shared by all mankind. It's not your sorrow or mine, it's mankind's sorrow. Mankind's anxiety, pain, loneliness, despair, aggressiveness. So you and we are the rest of humanity. We are not separate human beings psychologically. You may be a woman, you may be a man, you may be tall, dark, short, and so on. But inwardly, psychologically, which is far more important, we are the rest of mankind. You are the rest of mankind. And so if you kill another, if you are in conflict with another, you are destroying yourself. You can observe this very, very carefully if you look at yourself without any distortion. So there can only be peace when mankind, when you and I have no conflict in ourselves. And you might say, if one achieves or comes to an end to all conflict within oneself, how will it affect the rest of mankind? This is a very, very old question. This is being put thousands of years before Christ, if he ever existed. And we have to ask within ourselves whether sorrow, pain, anxiety, and all that can ever end. If one applies, looks, observes with great attention, as you look with considerable attention when you are combing your hair or shaving, with that quality of attention heightened, you can observe yourself, all the nuances, subtleties. And the mirror is your relationship between human beings. In that mirror, you can see yourself exactly as you are. But most of us are frightened to see what we are. And so we gradually develop resistance, guilt, and all the rest of that business. So we never ask for total freedom. not to do what you like, but to be free from choice. Where there are multiple choice, there are multiple confusions. So, can we live on this earth, parchment terrace, with a great understanding of mankind, which is to understand yourself so profoundly, not according to some psychologists, analysts. They too have to be analyzed. So we can, without turning to the professionals, as simple laymen, we can observe our own idiosyncrasies, tendencies. Our brain, the speaker is not a specialist about brain matter. Our brain has been conditioned to war, to hate, to conflict. It's conditioned through this long period of evolution. Whether that brain, with its cells which contain all the memories, whether that brain can free itself from its own conditioning. You know, it's very simple to answer such a question. If you have been going north all the days of your life, as humanity has been going in a particular direction, which is conflict, and somebody comes along and says, that leads nowhere, and he's serious, and perhaps you are serious, then he says, go south, go east, any other direction but that. And when you actually move away from that direction, there is a mutation in the very brain cells themselves, because you have broken the pattern. And that pattern must be broken now, not 40 years or 100 years later. And can human beings have the vitality, the energy to transform themselves into civilized human beings, not killing each other?